Good evening, people. Welcome to Friday Rivals. At the moment, I'm only joined by Owen Torrell. We will be joined by others. Obviously, this evening, high on our agenda will be Lionel Messi's situation, will be Harry Kane's situation, and we'll have a bit of a chat about Jack Grealish, the £100 million man. So we'll start with Owen until the other guys join us. And Owen is a Tottenham fan, in case you didn't notice by his shirt. How's things, Owen? What have you been up to, and where can we find you?
Well, we've been recording a podcast on the under the Touchline Fracas banner, or called Spurs Touchline. You'll see it in the handle just below. And we recorded yesterday, and we were in like very different moods. We were kind of all indecisive about what was going on with Romero, and now we're in better moods today. So we'll get into it.
Yeah?
But
yes, Bob, got you.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we've been buoyed by a new signing today, but yeah, we'll get into it.
So, guys, before we come back to the Tottenham situation...
I can't hear you.
Oh, can you not?
Steve, I can't hear you.
Can you not? Can you go to your microphone settings and see if it's on headphones or default? A bit of technical issue, guys. Bear with us. How are we doing, Bobs? Oh, and we'll go back to the original plan, mate. Let's have a talk about Romero while he thinks about Bob can get his earphones sorted out. So Romero signed today. Obviously, what was the fee in the end for that one? Do we know, or is it undisclosed?
Hello?
It was approximately...
Can
you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you guys. Perfect.
Cool. So, all right. Let's go by the banners. There was space filling then till he joined us, mate. So the big topic in world football at the moment is Lionel Messi apparently available on a free. The things I want to talk about: what does this mean for Messi? What does this mean for Barcelona? And more importantly, and perhaps for world football, what does this mean for La Liga? Because since Ronaldo left, Messi's been the go-to for the brand, La Liga brand. If Messi leaves, which is expected, where does La Liga end up? But we'll go to that shortly after we talk about the Messi situation. So Owen comes as a bit of a surprise because this was mooted last summer, never happened. Messi stayed with the agreement he could go in the summer if he wanted to. But clearly Barcelona have got €497 million deficit they need to recover before they can go forward as a going concern in terms of being a football club. Your thoughts on Messi's availability?
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, their old president, Jose Bartomeu, is going to have blood in his hands at this point. He's not going to be able to walk the streets of Barcelona ever again, even as far as the Catalonian border. He's not going to be able to set foot in there because where you've got all these players on high wages, even after Messi apparently agreed to accept a contract for half his original wages, they still can't afford to keep him on. I think they had something like a La Liga sponsor as well, which would end up them being gifted around £250 million, but they would lose a percentage of the revenue. They decided to go the other route, turn around and say, we can't sign Messi on. So as for what it means for La Liga, but I don't know if anyone really watches La Liga anymore. I mean, it's not really on Sky Sports anymore. I can't think of any. I don't really see anyone really even talking about it, even with Messi there. So where you've got the franchise of the whole league having to leave because your club can't even afford him because your club's been running to the ground. It's crazy. And now it looks like Memphis Depay is going to be the franchise. I feel a little bit sorry for Sergio Aguero as well. He's been kind of signed. He thinks he's going to chop it up with his mate Messi at Barcelona and he's not even going to be there. And I can only see Messi going to PSG now. I've seen him recently on holiday with half of their squad. Like you've got Verratti, Paredes, who's looked like he was dressed from 2010. Of course, Neymar and co, like practically half their team. And by and large, they are the only club that can afford him. So I'd fully expect him to go there. And exciting times for PSG and me old mate Pochettino.
Absolutely. Bob's coming to you on the Memphis Depay thing because it's an interesting signing. Is a free. Barcelona knew their financial position ahead of signing him. Then you add to the mix Aguero, who is he 34 years old now, and has had a couple of seasons where he's missed lots of games to injury. How have the mighty Barcelona fallen? How far have they fallen from that all-conquering side? That unfortunately, I've got to bring it up, and I don't mean to do it because you're a Man United fan, but when they were in their pomp, mate, they went to Champions League finals, notably against Man United, mate, and bossed it. They absolutely run the show, didn't they, from start to finish? And that's not a slight against Man United. That's more about how good Barcelona were. Mad that Aguero went there, and Messi looks like he's leaving. How must the likes of Messi, Aguero, and Depay be feeling right now, knowing that the main man's out the door? And I know Sky have just done a deal to take on La Liga, but the problem is, if La Liga disappears because the two big names in the brand have gone, are we going to see La Liga go the way Serie A went for a number of years, where it kind of pales into insignificance for a bit, and they struggle in European football? What does that do for world football? Because for me, that's not a great thing.
Yeah, to answer the first question, I actually think it's a relief, personally. If we look at the roster of signings that came through to Barcelona, they've got to pass Messi the ball. We've seen Griezmann flop. We've seen Frankie de Jong not be the same player he was at Ajax. We've seen other players that you think, wow, Barcelona have signed them and struggled. Now, you don't have that presence in the changing room there. You can relax. Do you know what it is? It's like being at a Catholic school. You have a strict headmaster. You're walking about the halls. You see him get to class. You've gone. Fix your tire. Now he's gone. You can relax. Memphis Depay. We all know where the Manchester United days. He's a character. He's a personality. He might actually be able to express himself now. I think the Aguero thing probably means he gets more game time. Personally, if I'm honest, and it's a new, it's probably me, mate, because of the headphones. I'll change it up to the microphone. I think it's a bit of relief. On the flip side, you could say, oh, you got to play with Messi, but at the same time, I don't think they're naive because I read that Depay had to change his contract twice because of the financial stuff. They want to play for Barcelona. Let's not get carried away. Barcelona, fantastic elite club with Messi or without Messi, in my opinion. The other part of your question, Sky Sports know how to make things very relevant, and they will ignite a new rival, whether it be João Felix from Atletico Madrid, Memphis Depay. Memphis Depay will probably get more coverage than he probably ever has since he left Man United. I don't think Barcelona are gonna, be eliminated from Europe and stuff like that. Because we need to remember the players they've got. They've still got a good football team, And I do think for some of these players, they won't say it. It'll be a massive relief. We might see Griezmann shine more. We might see Griezmann come out of his shell a bit more. We've got the young Pedri. I say we like a sport now. Pedri's coming. There's fans who answer. There's players there are thinking, he's gone now. We can actually play. Because, come on, you don't go to Barcelona if you're a bad football player. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
We know the politics and stuff. And vice versa. I also think that the same as with Ramos leaving Real Madrid, I think a lot of players now will be able to express themselves. So it could be I'm optimistic on everything. So I think it could be a good thing for them personally. And look, I'm not being funny, but they are, if I'm reading, they're like 110% in the red. So come on, it was not going to be sustainable. There's a reason why they went for these free transfers. I personally think that the president's a criminal. I think he knew this was going to happen. That's why he went for the free transfers. He knew that they couldn't buy a player. And I also think he thought, do you know what? Real Madrid don't really have anyone massive. Atletico have had their league title. Will they go again? Simeone's not really the type to do back-to-back La Ligas. I honestly think he thought, we've still got a good team with or without Messi. You add Depay to that, Aguero, you've still got Griezmann. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think so, Steve. I don't think they'll struggle, if I'm honest, because we need to remember, right? Barcelona was a formidable club before Messi. You know, they played better without. They always had someone. They always had someone that was coming through, and Pedri might be the man. You never know. He could be the new face. And I tell you what, Memphis Depay, for the younger generation, with the TikToks, the social media, and all that marketing, he could be the next best thing for Barca right now, commercial wise. You know?
I agree. I think you make some interesting points there. I know you say that prior to Messi, Barcelona were a force, but then they had players like Xavi and they had players like Rafael Marquez, Carlos Puyol, Ito, Ronaldinho, Romario. If you go back a little bit further than that, you kind of look at that situation, and those kind of stalwart type players aren't there. What they have is a number of players like Lenglet, and they've got the Pedri and players like that who are going to have to grow into it. But they're going to have to grow into it with the club being in an absolute financial dire straits. 497 million euro debt is a considerable amount of money, and it's not just a debt that is serviceable through interest payments, things like that. It's an operating cost that needs to be reduced kind of straight away.
Yep.
Do it, or FFP and La Liga will take Barcelona to the cleaners. They're in a real catch-22 situation for me in terms of, in my lifetime, this is the most vulnerable Barcelona's ever been. It's also probably at its lowest value as a football club. And I spoke to Owen about this before we came on air. Barcelona is a supporter-run club where the presidents get elected. Is this the time for Barcelona to go cap in hand and find owners? Because clearly this model doesn't work. Clearly they're spending money well above their station, got themselves into an absolute financial mess. They're asking Umtiti to find a club. They're asking Pjanic to find a club. Between those two guys, that's 500 grand a week. And both of those two guys have said, no, do you know what? We're going to be the modern day Winston Bogart. We're going to sit in your reserve team and we're going to take the money. And why shouldn't we? Because we've got a contract with you. That is an absolutely ridiculous state of affairs to get into. So you would, if you were a stakeholder in Barcelona, you would be wanting answers, wouldn't you?
100% you would be wanting answers. But, Steve, we're talking about a club that, financially are offering these sums. Like they are offering these contracts. And I think just the way Barcelona have been operating, I just think that there's something we don't know, because we all know with clubs being liquidated and stuff, or the clubs in England that have went down under into administration, there's something that's they're not telling us, because if you, for example, right, let me bring it basic. If you go £20 overdrawn on your account, the bank will tell you, listen, you're going to get charges unless you, square up. Now we're talking about 400 plus million. Like something's going on. They've obviously been taken from Peter to pay Paul. I honest to God think that the Super League, I think they banked on the Super League. They put all their eggs in the basket for the Super League. I think he thought if that goes ahead, they'll be able to get the money. I also do think that they thought Messi was going to stay, and the way they were going to stagger the contract. They said they was going to take a 50% pay cut, but if you read and you believe what you read, it wasn't really a 50% pay cut, because what he said, he was going to give him a 2-year contract over 5 years. That's not a pay cut, if you think about it. So, and that's why and the powers that be at La Liga said, no, you can't do that. But listen, that being said, they are in so much debt that, we could see a wholesale of players taking them to court, being like, this is a contract, you've breached the contract, not paying for me. It's, excuse the pun, it's going to get messy, literally, for this club.
Absolutely.
Like it's unheard of, though. Like, how are you able to run a club like this? In England, it's not possible. We all know that. Even if a club's in 30 million debt, we all know what happens. So I don't know, man. It's a really, really messy one. And did they think, we saw what happened to Rangers. Oh, and I don't know how well you are with the Scottish football, but Rangers tried to do this, and they sanctioned it. They got relegated to the very bottom of the league,
Yep.
So
Ali McCoist was the manager, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, it depends how big the balls are of La Liga. Are they willing to take Barca to town? Then we'll see what really happens. Sky Sports TV rights, but it's not, the TV rights aren't like in England where everyone gets the same. I think 85% or 8% is Atletico, Barca, and Real Madrid.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
So there's a good chance that money's been factored in already to the business model they've got with all of this money that's missing.
Exactly.
It's not the first time, is it? Because I can recall in the early 90s that Real Madrid were training on what was equivalent to a car park, basically, and they were in financial difficulty. So they sold the land to the Spanish government for like 800 million euros or something. It was completely revamped and made into a state-of-the-art training ground. And they rent it back on catalogue terms like £3.56 for 52 weeks. So it's kind of, there are ways to circumnavigate your debts. And I'm wondering whether those days have run out. And they're now actually, you couldn't, if you were in any other business the way that Barcelona's been running, it would go to the wall. It would have been liquidated already. So I don't know how they get around this. It's absolutely bizarre. It really is absolutely mental. Owen, coming to you, obviously you mentioned it before. Messi's linked with PSG, and for me, PSG probably in the box seat because, as I said to you before we came on air, what PSG do is they pay their top earners mega bucks, and they pay the players who aren't at the top end of the club average salaries. So the difference between Neymar and say Choupo-Moting when he was there, or Paradis, would be considerable. So their annual salary, I looked it up, is about 225 million. They're not in the top 10 salaries in Europe, so they can afford to absorb Messi's salary. If I'm honest with you, maybe not the tax element that Barcelona have been paying for a number of years, but certainly something equivalent to the 600 grand he gets basic salary. But it's mad. So do you think PSG are a genuine option for him? Do you think there's anyone else that comes into the? And speaking of anyone else, is our Man City fan Yannicka? Hi, Yannicka, you okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Cool. Yeah, we're good. We'll come to you in a second. I've just put the question to Owen that PSG being the logical choice for Messi, is there anyone else that could come to the table? I'll come to you in a second on that one.
That to me, yeah, no, I only really see PSG being the front runners. Again, like I was saying earlier, he's been on holiday. He's been wanting to play with Neymar again for the longest time. I always thought it would go the other way. Neymar would perhaps rejoin Barcelona. No, it looks like he's just going to go PSG. I know Fabrizio Romano and kind of other outlets and sources have been saying that they've already been in talks, and PSG have already gone with to UEFA and FFP to ask permission. And yeah, like PSG are desperate to win that Champions League. Messi could be that part of the trifecta that completes it. And it'll be exciting times. Pochettino, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. Maybe I see a three at the back happening with Hakimi and Bernat as wing-backs, Wijnaldum, Verratti in the middle, and then you got Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe just facilitated to do their own thing as a front three. It fits. It's scary as well. It's not a very Pochettino team, though. I've got to say, it's not a very Pochettino team. He doesn't like facilitating luxury players that much, and now he's got 3 or 4, if you include, say, a Di Maria. So it'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, I only really either see him going PSG, especially after, I think, Pep Guardiola. I know you can't really believe what he says when it comes to transfers at the minute, because he's a snidey guy. He's a snidey guy.
He's a poker player, isn't he?
He's completely ruled out Messi joining Man City earlier today, and yeah, I can only really see PSG affording him.
Evening, Jan. Just wanted to touch base with you on this one. Obviously, Messi previously has been linked with Manchester City. Obviously, he just committed mega money on Jack Grealish, and the Harry Kane thing is certainly still very high profile for Manchester City. Is it ever realistic to think that Messi could have turned up at Manchester City?
I mean, I think we should have been going for him. I think it's a no-brainer. The best player in the world is available on a free, as much as his wages are. That is the reality of it. He's available on the free, and Man City is saying, no, we're just going to go for Harry Kane. It's crazy to me. I'm not impressed with Man City. I hope Pep is lying, but it looks like it's true because, PSG are wrapping up this signing. That's what's being confirmed. So unless Man City completely turn around and say, actually, no, we want Messi, I can't see it happening. And the problem we've got is Harry Kane is not a done deal. Like Harry Kane plays for Spurs. Spurs want a certain amount of money. Man City don't want to pay that. And it's kind of at a standstill. So if Tottenham say we want 160 and Man City don't want to pay 160, we won't get Harry Kane either. So for me, I think Messi was a no-brainer. Obviously, it doesn't help that Sergio Aguero's left because I think he would have been the pull because they are best friends. They spend a lot of time together. They share the room every time they go to international tournaments. I'm sure if Aguero kind of said, Messi, please come to Manchester, I think it would have helped. Whereas Pep on his own, he's more attractive than Poch to a Messi because they're very good friends or whatever. But yeah, I don't think Pep on his own can kind of pull Messi to Man City. I think Neymar is more of a pull than than Pep. That's all I would say. So I think he's going to see it and go into France. That team, if they do not win the Champions League, like people talk about Man City, but we don't have a Sergio Ramos at the back. We don't have an Mbappe at the front. Like that team, if they add Messi,
do you know what you're saying that, right? Yeah. Do you know what you're saying that, right? But I hear you saying about the thing for me, the way Pep treated Aguero, and we all know Aguero and Messi are best friends. Mm-hmm. Messi's not really coming to City without Aguero, so I think and financially, you guys have just bust case, so you're not really trying to get Messi in and try and get all the limelight financially. How are they doing this? Yeah. The thing about PSG, right? If he goes there, I think it depends on how professional these players are. Because I take you back to the Galacticos. Figo, Zidane, Makelele, I dare say Steve McManaman, Raul, Ronaldo. I believe the back four was Salgado, Hierro, Helguera, Roberto Carlos. Beckham even. They only won one league. Won one league and they won, was it one Champions League or two Champions Leagues?
Yeah, they beat Valencia, didn't they, in the final? McManaman scored. Yeah. McManaman's won two, so the answer to that would be two, yeah.
Two, there you go. Right. And look at the team they had in that period, So, but I think it just depends on the professionalism. And you do have to say, you look at Sergio Ramos, you can see him going in and being like, look, we have to win this. And then you've got, obviously, Messi, Jesus Christ, and then you name, oh God, and then Mbappe, like, someone has to sit on the bench. Do you know what I mean? And I think it just depends. Is Potts the right man to try and keep keep everyone calm and happy? I don't know, but do you know when you just say the team there, you say the player, you're like, Jesus, like, I'm gonna buy a PSG strip. You know what I mean? Like, might as well learn French. Might as well, try and get the Messi. I don't know what number you'll get, but even if they don't give him a number, I'll just get Messi on it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but I don't think he'll come to England at his age. Nah, no chance. No chance. Steve, I think you're on mute.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So going back to Jan's response before, I don't think the English game suits Messi. Every week playing against the English sides, I think he has struggled typically against English sides before. I think at his age, the stage of his career, I think it's an easier thing to go and play in France, where he will win more trophies. And as we've already said, Bob, you and I are going, aren't we, Bob? We're going to head over there and have a look. I think that's a nailed-on thing. That they could afford the money, as I said before. They're not even in the top salary payers in Europe, whereas Manchester City are. If there's ever going to be a furore about FFP, if Messi rocks up at the Etihad on 600 grand a week, you think Twitter melted down recently? That's nothing compared to where that's going. Exactly. That's a ridiculous salary. So I think he's going there. Personally, I think he's going to go to PSG. I want to touch on something with you, Jan, that flashed up before. I want your thoughts on this. Let me find it 1 second. Here we go. Breaking news: Aguero wants to leave Barcelona after Messi has left. His lawyers are reviewing the terms of his contract signed a few weeks ago to leave Barcelona this summer. So there was the pull of Messi. Messi's best friends in football are Aguero and Luis Suarez. He goes on holiday with Luis Suarez. They're like best buddies, aren't they? Yeah. That's not far-fetched, that, is it? What's just come up on screen there? That you could actually see that, because Aguero knows his own mind, doesn't he? For sure.
I think what it is as well, because when I saw it, I was just discussing it on a City podcast, and I was saying, when Aguero was making that move to Barcelona, all of this sort of financial crisis, and they need to get their wage bill down by, 30% and all that, that wasn't being mentioned. So I'm sure in his contract he will have something, this deal he must be registered by a certain date or something like that. And it's looking like they can't register him now. So I do feel sorry for him. I think he definitely went there because of Messi. He went there because they offered him this project or whatever it was that they offered him. And it's not really what he's being offered now. It's kind of like, oh, we can't register you yet until we reduce our wage bill. So who's to say that, all of Barcelona's best players, might leave, and then he's kind of there on his own. So I don't blame him for not wanting to stay there. I do feel sorry for Aguero, because I think he did want to end his career at Man City. It was very obvious that he did by his reaction when he got told, that he couldn't stay at City, and all of that stuff. So yeah, I feel sorry for him. I hope that he can get out of it, to be honest, because I think they're a sinking ship right now, Barcelona. So I hope he can get out of it, but it's where he goes, because I can't see him coming back to City. So it's where he goes. I wouldn't want to see him play for a rival. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows what will happen with Aguero? But Aguero is so good. I love him so much.
He could go Atletico. You never know. He could go to Atletico.
Possibly, because he's, he'd be kind of going backwards, because he wants to end his career at Independiente. So it'll be interesting if he did go to Atletico, because that means he's gone completely back to the same route that he came. So that'd be interesting. It's just whether they need him. Personally, I would love João Felix at City. I think he'd be perfect for City. But he's in that killer contract, so he can't get out of that. The only thing that I would say is Bernardo Silva really wants to go La Liga. So if we could do something where they get Bernardo Silva, we pay, a lot of money, on top. Felix, that would be perfect for me, but it won't happen, unfortunately.
You never know, Jan. Listen, if Messi can sign for PSG, and Jack Grealish can go for 100 million, listen, anything in football is possible. I would not laugh at anything transfers now.
Just touching on the point you made there about Aguero possibly getting out of his contract and going to Atletico Madrid. Is that a good move for Atletico Madrid to have two 30-something centre forwards who've lost more than a yard of pace? You're getting behind people because you've got quick exponents of a through ball. As good as Suarez has been, and he's had a great career, I watched him against Chelsea, and he wasn't at the races because Chelsea knew how to play, and they knew how to position themselves, and knew his legs had gone. Spanish football is very, very different to playing against the likes of a robust Rudiger or Varane, for instance, if he decides to fulfil his deal and go to Manchester United, or indeed a Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool, or even a Ruben Diaz. Those kinds of players now would eat Suarez live in the Premier League, and so Spanish football is very different. I just wonder whether putting potentially Aguero alongside Suarez would nullify any pace that they might have. I think the Independiente thing is a little bit more than a tenuous link. That certainly could happen, because imagine how brassed off Aguero must be at the moment. He must be sitting there in his apartment thinking, "This is mental. What's going on here? I can't believe it. I need to get out. I don't want to play with Memphis Depay. No disrespect to him, but I wanted to play with Lionel Messi. My mucker, my mate. I want to play with him, and it can't happen now." So it's an interesting one. So are we all in agreement that we're going to see this fella rock up at PSG, Messi? Is that where we think he's going?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to think that, I don't play FIFA Ultimate, but it's like he's making up they're making their own Ultimate team now, and it's crazy. It's actually, like, Jan, I think we're around the same age, right? Steve, you've grew up on Barcelona legends, so I don't know your age, but to think that Lionel Messi will be playing with Neymar at Paris Saint-Germain, like, it's like do you know what it feels like? Remember when Messi was playing for Barca, right? Can everyone remember that? And everyone's like, I want to go to Barca to play for Messi. Now it's literally, I want to go to PSG to play with Neymar. That's how people are going to spin it now. Messi's literally went to PSG to play with Neymar now. That is mental.
Absolutely, isn't it? Do you know, mine boggles, because I always thought Messi would see out his career. I thought he was going to be the one man club, and he's won 35 trophies at Barcelona, and he's gonna throw that away and go and play at PSG for essentially, as the figures were thrown up on the page before, £747,000 a week, which is nice work if you can get it. It's criminally obscene, by the way. No footballer should earn anything like that, because there are people doing far more important things in the world not getting anything like that. But it's the world we live in. It's the escapism we seek, and we're happy for these players to play for our clubs, and they get paid silly money for doing it. So interesting at playing for Poch. I don't think Poch tactically is a guy that's going to get too much out of Messi. We all know that Pep Guardiola is the overthinker when it comes to tactics, and that's certainly something that's happened later in his career. When he came out of La Masia and went into the first team at Barcelona as the manager, he wasn't the same type of person as he is now. But I remember him saying one season at Barcelona was like 3 seasons anywhere else, such was the pressure he was under. So who knows? I just don't think it's a great idea for Messi to go to PSG, unless it's just a tear up. You guys put your shirts on, go and have a game of football and enjoy yourselves. And let's be honest, that's quite possible with those players in your squad, that you don't need to tell them what to do. You shouldn't be telling Lionel Messi how to play football. What you should have is a game plan, which PSG currently don't have. But I don't see that changing, to be honest with you. So come away from that one now and go on to the next subject. And I'm going to start with you, Owen, on this one, because this is really big news at the moment, and I've got my thoughts on it, and we'll get the guys to contribute in a second. So,
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not looking great. He did release a statement earlier today to try to kind of backtrack a bit. I think it's quite evident that he's not so much gone on strike, but he's definitely kind of held off on coming back when he was supposed to come back for these pre-season COVID tests and fitness tests and what have you, just to make a point to Levy. Because just for a little bit of further back context, like just during the summer, Nuno joins, Fabio Paratici joins. They're both getting told by Levy, like, Kane is staying. All our new signings are being told the same, and we've known about Kane's intentions for the best part of a year now. If we didn't get top 4, he'll look to leave. But there's been no action from the club over the summer to suggest that we're going to try and move on from Kane. When you compare that to Aston Villa with Grealish, although it's a slightly different situation with Grealish actually having a genuine offer and a release clause, it's been weird. And I can see Kane's frustrations. He's obviously doesn't feel like he's been taken seriously. There's been talk of this gentleman's agreement. Doesn't really exist with someone like Daniel Levy. So, yeah, okay, he's made his point. And now he's seen the media backlash, released a statement earlier today. It's been a long day. I forgot it was even today. So he's essentially said that he never refused to train. And he'll be coming back to training tomorrow as planned. So again, I don't know if there's been a little bit of confusion or misinterpretation about when he was supposed to be back, because I don't necessarily think that whole part of his statement where he'll be coming back as planned was necessarily a lie. But it's an interesting one, and it gives me a bit of PTSD from the Berbatov situation, not so much the Bale, because again, like I was saying earlier, we haven't made any plans to move on from him. We've been dragging it out, and I think we're going to get stung. And now you've got in a position where Levy he's been able to control the narrative without really trying, because everyone's had this backlash all towards Harry Kane. And it's the first time in my lifetime as a Spurs fan that Daniel Levy has more sympathisers than the star player. It's insane. And especially a homegrown player. Even with this statement, I think loads of people, I think most of the fans have seen through it and they know they're backtracking in the Kane camp, and Levy's still winning the battle. Like, don't get me wrong, even if Kane didn't apparently go AWOL, he's still going to drag this out to at least past our first game of the season, which is Manchester City. But now we've got to a point where, because we've been so unproactive, we're missing out on targets that could potentially adequately replace him. So we saw Aston Villa going for Danny Ings, got him straight away. But like, Danny Ings isn't necessarily like a sexy name. He's not proven like at a high level. However, he would have been someone who
scores goals,
comes in. He's Premier League proven at least. We're quite tight on our homegrown quota as well. So we would need, say, if Kane left, a couple of forwards to replace him. Danny Ings would have been a perfect one to come in with, perhaps like a young and upcoming striker. But yeah, with our unproductivity, we've let Aston Villa have a free run at Danny Ings. We let Leicester City have a free run at Patson Daka. It just kind of screams to me now, where you've got a lot of kind of turning cogs in the transfer market now. You've got Lukaku potentially going to Chelsea, and I think Inter now are gonna go and use Vlahovic, who's meant to be one of our main targets, and then recruit him at Inter. Thus, again, us missing out on another target. So I think we're going to get into this situation where day by day we're going to miss out on targets, and we're going to have to be forced to make him stay. Even though, again, for further context, for those that wouldn't have heard me on Touchline Hotspur, Spurs Touchline, I thought we should have facilitated the Kane transfer early. I'm a firm believer in player power. I don't necessarily want to keep a petulant Kane who's not going to be 100%. That's going to fracture the dressing room, because he's a senior figure. He's England's captain. So, I mean, if you're going to keep an unhappy player like that, then it's just only going to fracture the dressing room more than it already is. Like, I feel like we should have facilitated that transfer and then got players to come in and adequately replace him and move on as quickly as possible, show some proper squad planning for once. But yeah, it looks like now, as time's going to be dragged on, we're going to have to force him to stay, because there's going to be no one that's going to be available to adequately replace him.
Another question for you. We spoke earlier about the fact that Kane doesn't have a sort of a high-profile agent, and it's his brother, and it's all a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. What kind of world-class footballer goes to Costa, signs a contract and agrees a gentleman's agreement, you can leave next summer? Why is that not written into his contract? Why is that not official? And would you rather Kane put a transfer request in rather than all of this nonsense that's going on?
I would. I feel like a lot of people have given Harry Kane stick for signing the 6-year contract in 2018, which is it's revisionism at its best, because at that time we were one of the country's best clubs. We were still challenging for the bigger titles, and he was even vindicated later on in that year because we got to a Champions League final. Stadium's about to open. Of course, our implementation of our ambitions was piss poor, to say the least. But at that time, he was fairly justified in signing a 6-year contract, especially being a player who's come through our academy as a Spurs fan, not an Arsenal fan, as people will banter me saying. But I don't think he would have necessarily tried to include a clause similar to what Grealish had in his contract at that time. Because again, at that time, for all intents and purposes, we looked like we were going to kick on and go that extra yard and start perhaps even winning one of the big titles. It just didn't happen. As far as anything else, you can't really include something in the contract after that. So again, I think the only thing you can really do at this point is hand in the transfer request. But now, you're going to end up losing the fans more than you already have. Levy is going to have all of the leverage. He's going to be able to control the narrative even more without even doing a thing, purely just because Kane's camp, Harry Kane and his brother are going about this way the wrong way. They just haven't kind of gone head to head with a shrewd businessman like Daniel Levy before, and it shows.
Absolutely. Yeah, and coming to you, so you're running the show at Tottenham. Is what Harry Kane is what he doing making it very difficult for the club to take steps forward? Is it affecting preparation for the season? And if next week, I was talking to Owen about this before, if in a week's time they agree a transfer, it takes 2 or 3 days to go through. That's another 10 days gone from the transfer window. How does that affect Spurs' preparation for the season?
Yeah, I think as like what happened with Grealish, when you sell one of your best players or your best player, you need to kind of make the fans happy as much as anything else, you know what I mean? And, I think Villa, it was very obvious they went and made signings. Whether they turn out to be, brilliant signings or not, we're yet to see. I like Leon Bailey. Obviously, he plays for my international team, so have to love Bailey. But, it's one of them where at least they got people in. So it's like, okay, Grealish is gone, but we have Leon Bailey. Grealish is gone, but we've got Danny Ings, whereas like Tottenham, I don't think they would have that time if Kane was to leave. So it's a case of you either get people in and then risk potentially Harry Kane staying, and then you've got a stacked squad, which I don't think would be a bad thing. Or, wait till Kane leaves and then see what happens. But again, once people know, like it happens with City a lot, once people know you have that amount of money, it's a lot harder then to get players that you want for cheaper prices, because people know you've got 160 million to spend. And if it's deadline day, they'll know they can say to Spurs, oh, it's 100 million for this. That's just right, Jesus, yeah. But yeah.
Her name's Marta now.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's just one of them things. I think we'll have to see. I actually think in terms of Kane, I think when he signed that 6-year deal, because when I first was saying it, I was like, why would you sign a 6-year deal from a club that weren't guaranteed to win trophies and then, want to leave to win trophies? But I agree with you. I think at the time he wanted to stay at Spurs. And I think he wanted to be a one-team man, and end his career at Tottenham. But I think as he's got older, it's probably hit him. Actually, if I stay at Tottenham, I might go trophyless. And I think as he's getting older, it doesn't help. I've said this before. It doesn't help that Mason Mount is bringing home a Champions League at 22. Phil Foden, 3rd title at 21. I think when you're in a dressing room on international level with all these players, that you're thinking, oh, they're younger than me, are winning so many trophies. I think he's probably thinking it's now or never to get trophies. And I think that's why he's trying to leave. But I do think he did sign that contract with good intentions. And that's why there's no clauses in his contract. But at the same time, in hindsight, he probably should have thought about potential clauses, because if he had a clause in his contract and then he wanted to stay, it doesn't matter. You can still stay. So I just think it's one of them. But I think what will happen, and I predicted this a while ago, I thought Man City would go for Kane. And then I thought that City wouldn't pay what Levy wants, and then that would fall through. So I don't know what's going to happen now. I thought City would go for a second option, like we did with Koulibaly, and we got Ruben Diaz. I thought we would, but the second options are gone because Danny Ings is gone. Andre Silva, who is the one that I thought the Man City would go for, has gone to Leipzig. So I think if City don't get Kane, I don't think we sign a striker, which is a bit worrying going into the next season. So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? With
go on.
City going in for Grealish first and looking like they don't necessarily want to pay the fee for Harry Kane, which, I mean, they don't seem like they want to pay over 100 million for Kane, whereas they paid Jack Grealish for, I mean, they paid 100 million for Jack Grealish, what could end up being for mainly his calf exercise regimes. But what is the deal there? Like, because by and large, I feel like Harry Kane's far more important to that Man City team than a Jack Grealish. And don't get me wrong, I think Jack Grealish is an incredible talent. He's an incredible player, but I don't feel like you need another creative midfielder as much as you do that number 9 to replace what Pep Guardiola describes as the irreplaceable Aguero. But what's the deal there? Because you're not going to be paying. I can't see City paying a huge fee for Harry Kane.
Yeah,
and it's quite hard to take them seriously. I guess I guess this is what Levy's thinking as well. When you're not wanting to pay obviously the money for Harry Kane, but you've obviously signed Jack Grealish. Harry Kane's obviously a much higher stature, much more important. I don't know what the deal is there. Like, do you even see City coming in with a substantial offer, or is it just going to be a case of lumping your fringe players at Spurs and seeing who sticks?
I have no idea, because I think we definitely needed a striker. So it is a bit strange that they've kind of gone for Grealish. I was quite surprised by Grealish. Like, I know we've been linked to him, but I didn't think we would sign him. So it's kind of come out of the blue a little bit, you could say, because I thought we would probably focus on a striker first.
You're number 10 now as well.
Yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with City. Like, I think they obviously want Kane. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But I think City will be forced to pay it because, like I say, it's Kane or bust, and I think they're going to have to pay it. So they probably will. That's what they want.
Do you know the funny thing is, though?
Try and get them cheaper. Yeah, go on.
Do you not think, though, but we forget that City pulled out of the Sanchez deal. City pulled out of the Harry Maguire deal because they weren't being prepared to be put to ransom. You know, the thing about Manchester City is just that. The thing about Jack Grealish, like, I don't know if everyone knows it, but City actually haven't given them 100 million. They've given them like 72 up front, and they'll pay the rest of it over the next 2 years or something, right? City, so like obviously they'll cover it as 100 million transfer, but like City are smart businessmen, and to pay Harry Kane 100 for whatever they want is stupid. Does not make sense, because that means the next time City want to go for a player, it'll be, well, you spent that on Kane. This is our Kane. Remember when Neymar went for the 220 million? Everyone was like, Ribery's 150, blah, blah, blah. That nonsense will start again. The difference between Jack Grealish is that he's 24 years old, the English tax. He just played in the World Cup final. He's Premier League proven, ratatata, yada, yada, yada. You know, he's going to be at City, and he's Aston Villa's greatest player, best player at the time. The thing about Harry Kane, right, this is my opinion on it. I think Harry Kane's an idiot. And let me elaborate why I say he's an idiot. Not to say that he's dumb or anything. No, I mean that as a football player, he should have known that he's Tottenham's main asset. Okay, he should have protected his own personal interest. Now we saw the chairman of Aston Villa come out and say that the new contract that Grealish signed, he will insert the release clause. Now, is Jack Grealish worth 100 million? Probably not, but someone will pay that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, if Harry Kane had said, basically, okay, I'll sign this new contract, but I want a 100 million release clause. You know, I know his brother's the agent and stuff, but he's been obviously not managed properly. He's been advised unprofessionally. I don't care if we had a verbal agreement. If it's not written in a contract, listen, Owen, mate, next time we go to the bar, my round. Bobby, I'm going to the bar. Aye, good for you, mate. Do you know what I'm trying to say? We might have a verbal agreement, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Do you get what I'm trying to say? My point is that he should have protected himself. Now, the statement he's came out, it's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's him trying to, basically cuddle up back to the Tottenham fan base. He never turned up for training. He knew when to turn up, he didn't turn up. He went for the old school thing, not turn up, try and force the hand. But the person he's trying to force is Daniel Levy. Now, the most frightening fact of Harry Kane's situation is that Harry Kane is 29 next year. And so he's 28 now. He's not won a single trophy. Yes, he's got the personal accolades, okay? He's not won a single trophy. And Jan said that Mason Mount. Now, if you go into the England camp, okay, you are the captain of champions, but you are the loser amongst these people. And I'm not saying he's a loser person, but I'm just saying, geographically with like the stuff that he's not won. You've got Henderson, Champions League winner, league title winner. You've got Raheem Sterling, league winner. You've got Mason Mount, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, some players that didn't even play that much in the World Cup, all winning Champions League. Now, this idea of being a one-man club is a stupid fantasy because those days and that era is gone. Gerrard, Lampard, it was a nice fantasy, but if you ask Alan Shearer now, Alan Shearer will tell you right now he made the wrong decision. I'm telling you, 100%. You could score all those goals, but if you don't win any trophies, for me it's just like, well, okay, cool, whatever. I just think now, with the comments from Pep, City it's a great position for City to be in right now because City will be like, well, if you're saying he's 160, okay, cool, keep him. You now have a player that doesn't want to be there. Now you've got a bigger problem. Your best player don't want to be in your club. For Harry Kane, what he should have done for his image was turn up to training and say, look, I want this moved. What can I do to get this move done? But initially, he shouldn't have signed the 6-year contract. And why he thought, for some reason, this is not to troll your club, or 100% it's not to, but why did he think when he signed that contract that Spurs were going to kick on? Because historically, it's not like you go out and buy the B tier players, okay, B category players. For goodness sake, I mean, you got Ndombele and you hardly played them. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
This is the thing. It is genuinely all hindsight because, as I say, at that time we get to 2018. We've got the new stadium on the horizon. And this is, again, all hindsight. And, Daniel Levy and co are all kind of say, okay, once the new stadium opens, we are going to get that revenue in and then we are going to kick on.
Arsenal said that. Look at them, mate.
Yeah, we refinanced the debt into bonds to allow us to kind of operate better in as a football club, football operations wise. Even now, like even in this window, we've spent like a fair amount. Last window spent a fair amount, but we got to that summer window after the Champions League final. We went to kick on. It was a little bit too late because obviously we had obviously the stadium delays. It wasn't so much the debt that hindered us; it was just the delay of obviously just getting into that stadium. It was almost a season late, and the then when we look to kick on, we obviously have COVID hit us at possibly the worst time. So we then have that revenue that's, again, now not coming in. We're going to have to go to the Bank of England, cap in hand, on our knees, beg for money. And they gave us the loan on the premise that we don't spend it on player operations. We couldn't even sign Heung-min Son to a new contract until we paid off the loan. So, yeah, again, it's an all hindsight thing, like all planning at the time when you're kind of finishing comfortably in Champions League spots, you're challenging for the league back to back, and then you're vindicated after signing that contract with Tottenham getting in the Champions League final. Oh, and we're looking to kick on with the new stadium. Okay, that sounds great. And you've got to remember, like, he is a Tottenham guy as well. So there's other players that have signed 6-year contracts recently, like Alexander Rizak, who's not even a home.
I know, but
not even from San Sebastian.
No one's trying to buy him, Owen.
I swear to, if we weren't in the market for him, and if we saw Kane and we weren't in the market for him, I'd be scared. But again, he signed a new contract, even though they're not an ambitious club. Like, people forget as well, when we were in those positions, we did kind of fast forward our project a bit. We weren't really supposed to be challenging that soon into the project, but we've always been an ambitious club, and I always say it, and it sounds silly because the way we've implemented this ambition has been, like I said earlier, piss poor.
Sorry to cut you off. I apologize for cutting you off.
It's so good.
You've always been ambitious. I can't get with that because you haven't.
Haven't we not though? Why would we build a new stadium? Why would we hire Mourinho? Why would we get Bale back on loan if we weren't ambitious? Again, these are intentions moves for ambition, but they subsequently just didn't work out.
So the first one, the stadium, okay? You guys saw an opportunity to be able to host concerts, NFL games, and obviously boxing matches. So that move is not entirely for the football team.
Correct.
Okay. The second, I beg the pardon, the second one we
said still
Mourinho.
part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Second, Mourinho. Okay. You don't hire Mourinho and not back him. Okay? That is the stipulation. Wherever he goes, you back him and he will deliver. Your World Cup final, he got you into. You did not allow him to play the match, play the fixture. Now, if you're ambitious, I don't care. The first trophy that you've not had since 2008, ambitious. Even if you don't like the guy, you give him, because he was your best chance. You sack him, we all know what happened. The Gareth Bale thing, that was a circus, okay? Gareth Bale he's took the piss out of Real Madrid. Real Madrid were like, Zidane didn't want him anyway. So to be honest, he was only going to go back to Tottenham. Yes, he put up good numbers, don't get me wrong. He put up some good numbers. I think his numbers matched Rashford, I can't remember. But he put good numbers. But he was always going to go back to Real Madrid. He came out and said. So you weren't really going to kick on with that. So when you say ambitious,
this is the thing. Just for like further context as well, because again, people wouldn't have known my opinion on this. I knew the Bale deal would be a flop from the off. I called it when not many fans did. I'd seen him play at Real Madrid, and his legs looked completely gone. If you're looking at a physical standpoint, running up and down, getting big, covering big spaces, etc. Even the touch looked heavy. He was injury prone, etc., etc. And I knew he would essentially be using us. But I think I'm just talking from the intention from the board standpoint. Like, it's ignorant to not think that he would flop. However, it was an ambitious move, and there is an argument to say Mourinho was backed. Like, we spent a fair amount, even though we were under severe constraints. We were one of the highest affected by COVID. We spent net around 70 million. The cup final, which we was going to lose anyway. Yeah, he probably should have given.
No, you can't say you're going to lose. You can't say you're going to lose.
If you're watching us in and around that game, like, everyone was on the floor. We should have given him the chance to play the final, and he would have lost it, and let him lose the final and then sack him on the premise of that. Okay. I agree with that. However, I don't think he would have won the final either way.
Okay,
I
answer
think
this question.
can I just jump in a sec, Bob, before you do
Go on,
that?
Steve, go on.
Because I've been sitting patiently listening to this. You know that's my thing, Bob. I sit and I listen, and then I go for it, right?
Boom.
So
Yeah.
in your club's life cycle, you get 3 or 4 opportunities where you have a moment in your history that says this is our time. This is the time where we grow. So if I use Liverpool and Spurs as a comparable, we lost the final to Madrid. 5 o'clock in the morning, Jurgen Klopp's in the bar singing "We Are Liverpool," drunk with the fans. He took the adversity of losing the Champions League final and went and challenged the players and went and challenged the club to improve on that. Pochettino didn't get the opportunity to do that because Spurs didn't invest. That was your chance. That if you do that properly, and you sign the right players off the back of the Champions League final, Kane's 6-year contract makes a little more sense. If you allow your manager to go to press conferences from the start of the season to the point where he left the club and say, "I'm just a head coach. I don't have a say. I don't do this. I don't do that." That smells of sour grapes, and that is a really bad stigma that your football club had for 4 months.
There was a lot of parallels between Spurs and Liverpool in that time frame, but there is like you talk about Klopp challenging FSG to invest in the team. Like we didn't get to sell a key player for 140 million.
Could now though.
That was a jab. That was a jab.
No, but you could now.
If Barcelona had bought a Christian Eriksen for 110, 120 million or so, I have no doubts we would have reinvested that in the team.
But he wanted to go though. Real Madrid wanted him, and Levy said no.
And Eriksen was twerking for Madrid. They never came in with the offer. It was a funny one. His agent fumbled the bag there. I felt a bit sorry for Eriksen in that respect because he just put himself out there just to get rejected in the end. But yeah, that was an interesting thing because when you look at Liverpool's net spend, I think Spurs still had a higher net spend in that period of time than Liverpool because by and large, not just Coutinho, but Liverpool were much better at selling players than Spurs. So yeah, they might have got a bit lucky for the fee that Barcelona ignorantly paid for Coutinho. Because
100%.
it was insane. But I do give Liverpool credit for getting rid of other players like Solanke at that time for 20 million or something.
Owen, shouldn't Levy look at that Liverpool model and say, right, I've got a centre forward that
100% because we should.
I've won nothing, but then didn't turn up for the European final against Italy. It was poor. To be fair,
it was horrible.
It was horrible, but the tactics didn't help him. That is true to some degree, but world-class players roll up their sleeves and get on with it, don't they, tactics or not? Should Spurs not now be saying, right, let's get the 100 million, 120 million, 130 million off Manchester City. Let's put 30 million quid in the kitty for whatever, and let's go and say to the new manager, there's 100 million pounds. Who do you want?
Correct.
That is then saying,
that is a good point, but
change our business model.
I think the thing is, I think low key,
but Bob's have always been
Levy
ambitious,
is willing to accept a bid of around like 125 to 150 million for Kane because that's by and large what he's worth. If Grealish is worth 100 easily,
No.
But if he's willing to accept it, but Man City aren't paying it, and that's the thing. What do you mean? How is he worth that? He's one of the best strikers in the world, highest goal scorer and assister in the Premier League.
Hear me out.
I know his age and injury proneness.
No, forget the age. Forget the age and injury prone, right?
Okay.
On the summer he had, the tournament he had, he's not 150 million player.
He 100 in this market. He's at least 150 million. Especially if we're not factoring in age and injuries, he's worth more than 150 million. That's the only caveat you can make to lower his fee. If you factor in his age and the injury proneness, you could perhaps get Levy down to 120, 125 million minimum.
I think it's generous.
That's
I'm not trolling. I'm not trolling, and hear me out. And I'm not trying to sound deluded. That what I'm saying is that for the amount of money Man City are gonna what Tottenham won, you got to look at Kane as a whole package. And does he complete Man City? Yes and no. Man City won the league without Aguero basically playing every game. You know, they've won cups without playing a centre forward. Now I'm thinking, as an investment, maybe last year you could have demanded the 150. It could have been like, yup, you know. But on the back of the tournament, and then I just think when I analyse the cup finals, the big games, you know, am I really spending 150 million on Harry Kane? I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah,
don't know
I
if he's
think-
Bobs, let me ask you a question, Bobs, right? So they've signed Jack Grealish, right? And we'll talk about Jack Grealish before we close. And then they sign Harry Kane. And then they go and win the Champions League. And then they go and win a Premier League. The spin-offs from those two trophies, particularly the Champions Leagues. I've said this to you many, many times, Bobs. If Manchester City win a Champions League, they wake up in a whole different universe, and the capacity to where they could go to changes overnight. Because at the moment, they are domestically right. They're the top of the tree domestically. You put Manchester City on the top of the European tree, the people that back it, the infrastructure. Soriano and Bergerstein, who came from Barcelona, suddenly wake up and go, hello again. Here we go. It's like when we used to win all those trophies at Barcelona. Manchester City will change almost overnight. So if by spending £140 million it takes to buy Kane, and he scores 45 goals in a season, which, believe you me, I genuinely think he would with the chances that City create, a Champions League, as Jan says, is a matter of when, not if, and it could be within 2 years. Then that £140 million on Harry Kane is money well spent, because the spin-offs, where your club gets to, the change in revenue, the sponsorships you can get and all that stuff. Because at the moment in Europe, Manchester City, the rest of the footballing world thinks Manchester City are underachievers in Europe. And that's not a criticism. That is genuinely what people think. So if you add Harry Kane to the mix, and he goes and scores you the goals, wins you the Champions League, job done, and it doesn't. It sounds crazy, but it's money well spent.
But then, why are they not paying it then, Steve?
Because they're trying to squeeze this, that, and the other out of the deal. If you've got a player that wants to leave, really wants to leave, which Kane does, and we'll find out the truth about why he's AWOL for whatever reason when it's done. And you've got a chairman that's digging his heels in, and we all know Daniel Levy, along with Ulas of Lyon, is one of the most hard negotiators for transfer fees. City will want to pay 115. Levy will want 150. They'll probably settle for 125, 130. So if it's going to happen, it will happen. £15 million to Manchester City is not an awful lot, to be fair. If you £15 million on top of what they're paying already, you'd still do it. That guy, the chances that City create, Harry Kane will be like a kid in a sweet shop, mate. He will have unbelievable convert.
100%.
I've made no secret. I can't warm to Harry Kane for some reason. I think it's the fact that he does things with opponents' players that I don't appreciate in terms of endangering them with this backing in nonsense, right? But Owen doesn't agree with me on that one. We've had that conversation before. I can't warm to Harry Kane, right? But Manchester City fans will love him if he scores 45 to 50 goals. And in terms of his conversion rate, his ability and all of that, that's never been in question. His ankles are, because we know he's got problematic ankles, and I think that's partly the reason why he dropped deep this season, to protect himself a little bit. But if he goes to City and scores 45 goals, the Champions League's on its way. That's genuinely how I see it.
He completes the jigsaw puzzle, 100%. Because I'm with you. I agree with everything you're saying. You know, I like to play devil's advocate, and I like to drop in a spanner. I just think here, Man City are a big club, and I think to myself, if they really wanted Kane, they'd have just dropped the money. But I think there's something there where they think he's not worth it. He doesn't want. He wants to leave. I'm not giving you this 150 million.
Playing a game, Bob. They're playing a game, aren't they? They're waiting to.
The game.
Do you know what? It doesn't matter how long into the transfer window Manchester City wait, because they gain favour by getting him. The longer it goes into the transfer window, the more problematic it becomes for Spurs. So why should Manchester City worry about that? They don't have to.
Even if Man City were to drop 150 million today, tomorrow, Levy's going to drag it out until we play City in the league. Because
to be fair, Owen,
he's a little bit petty like that.
To be fair,
he's a little bit petty like that, and I like it. But
I know he is. I know he's obstinate, isn't he? But to be fair, City can go into the start of the season without Kane. City can play 2 or 3 games without Kane. So basically, City hold all the cards to this deal. They hold everything. It's all in City's hands. And they've got a player who's making their job really easy by staying away from training, which you don't want that. In one bad apple in your club, which is what Kane will be perceived as now, undoes everything. If you've got one person in your club that's a bad apple, you get rid. So Manchester City is just sit. It's like a game of poker. They're waiting for Spurs to blink, and they will sell him to Manchester City at some point before the season starts, or a week into the season, or whenever. But Manchester City don't need to hurry him into the team. They can let him settle for 3 weeks because they'll still win games of football without him. What do you think, Jan?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think City will think, it's only if City panic and think, oh my God, we need a striker, that they might just put the money down. But I think it will be a negotiation. I don't think City will go, because Pep said today, if Spurs are willing to negotiate, then then we want him. But if not, then he's the Spurs player. So I think City are open to negotiations, but I don't think, it's interesting because even with Grealish, I didn't think we'd spend 100 million on anyone, because I've seen Man City before. We needed Van Dijk, and they said no because it was too much. We needed Maguire, they said no because it was too much. So Man City got in for.
Don't need Maguire.
No. When we went in for him, we did need him at the time, and it's like we have been in negotiations before for players that we need, and we've not paid the money. So it could be a case of we don't get Kane. I don't know. I think if I'm Man City, I'm looking at Haaland personally, because I think he's the best deal in terms of if he comes and he's fantastic, you can keep him for a ridiculous amount of time. If he comes and he decides he wants to leave, you can make a hell of a lot of money from him. You probably get more money back than you spent, because his prime is not going to be when he's 20. His prime is going to be a bit older. So I think we could sell him in his prime.
Scary.
For more money, which is mad. So if I'm City, and the thing is, people talk about, a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, he doesn't support City. Even though he has said that he supports Leeds, City, and another club that his dad played for. But we still have connections with his dad. His dad is still connected with Man City. Haaland is at games every season. Not anymore because he's playing all the time, but up until, he was sort of got a professional contract, he was coming to Man City games every year. So we do have that sort of link with him. And I personally would be going for Haaland because he's got resale value if it doesn't work.
Agreed.
Any player at Man City, like you said, any clinical striker is scoring a ridiculous amount of goals. We know Harry Kane is going to come in and score ridiculous amounts of goals, because if you think how many goals he's getting at Tottenham, he's going to have De Bruyne and Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling, all these players supplying him. We've even got a goalkeeper that can give you an assist. So
they should have just bought Danny Ings, but it's fine. Get Danny Ings for 30 million.
Yeah, and that's really, really, really good point, right? I'm going to touch on the Haaland situation. So Haaland currently is being, Chelsea were batting their eyelashes at him before they decided to switch their attentions to Lukaku. I personally feel, unless you come with £175 million for him, £20 million for Raiola, £20 million for Raiola, and £20 million for Haaland's dad, which is what the deal is. So you're talking north of £200 million. A couple of things that stand in the way of that. Raiola despises Guardiola, absolutely despises him. You can't even be in the same room as him. So there's a problem. Guardiola couldn't be in any negotiations. Second point is, I think Dortmund are quite happy to play the game because they hold all the cards. And the reason why is if they don't sell Haaland this summer, I see people on Twitter saying, oh, we get Haaland for £75 million next summer. You don't. Because what will happen is he'll sign a new contract, he'll get twice his wages, and there'll be a clause written into his contract that says you can go if a club comes in with £175 million plus. So Dortmund win all hands down, whereas Tottenham are backs against the wall and got nowhere to go with this. So I think the Haaland thing doesn't conclude this summer, personally speaking. What do you think, Owen?
With the Haaland thing?
Yeah.
You'd have to bank on waiting a year and him not signing a new deal with Dortmund, I think, because he seems happy to stay at Dortmund as well. Like from what I've seen of his kind of, he did a press conference when he came back from pre-season and he said, I hope the rumors of me moving aren't true because I've not even entertained it myself. Yeah, I think after Dortmund won the German Cup, they qualified for the Champions League. He's still happy to stay there for one more year. I don't think he signs the new contract. I don't think he signs a new contract with Dortmund personally. I think he's now open to a move, especially with Mino chomping in his ear. Like, Mino's going to be.
Let me cut in quickly, and you can answer this. If that was the case, surely they would have already accepted Chelsea's £140 million bid that we're all led to believe that was made, because that's £65 million more than next summer. Surely that alone tells you that Dortmund are confident that they're going to come out with this well.
I don't believe they made that offer then. And if that offer's true, then yeah, maybe. But again, like I don't know. I wasn't aware of that offer before, and I'm not sure quite how genuine it is, because it seems like Lukaku's kind of been their kind of long-term target, and they're only really acting on it now. But yeah, I mean, City could maybe test their resolve with that much money. But again, we've seen with Kane already, they're not willing to pay that much. So yeah, with Chelsea and City not willing to pay that much next season, no, I don't see Haaland moving this summer whatsoever.
No, I don't. So, guys, just to finish with, I'm going to open the floor up to Jan, because it's been a big week for Manchester City. They've gone and done this, and it's ridiculous for lots of reasons. Personally speaking, I see this guy being turned into a number 10 by Pep, because I don't think he sees enough of the game out on the left midfield, and City certainly aren't short out there in terms of options. How do you feel about that? Is that a good move? Is that one you wanted?
I actually really like Grealish, so I'm quite happy with Grealish. It's definitely because Bernardo Silva wants out, which Pep's confirmed today. There's been rumours about it for a while, but he's confirmed now that Bernardo Silva's not happy. He wants to go to Spain and play there, so we'll see what happens with that. We've not had any offers for him, so someone would have to come in, otherwise he's going to stay at City. It's also, I don't think it's helped by the fact that he was on holiday. Like, if you want to move, just come back, get it done, and then you can go off after. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a bit of a strange one. So we'll have to see what happens with Bernardo. But yeah, I'm happy with Grealish. I think he's a great player. I think he'll get better under Pep. He's already doing, good things for Villa. Everyone's a risk, even if they are Prem proven. You never know how they're going to do in your team. We've seen it a few times at City. Sinclair was one that looked absolutely brilliant, and then he joined Man City and he was pretty bad. We've had Jack Rodwell as well, was another one. So it has happened before where we've got players in.
That was a low blow. That was Jack Rodwell. That's a low blow.
Sorry. But
was that not under Mark Hughes? Mark Hughes, isn't it?
Don't even know. I think no, it wasn't Mark Hughes. Was it
not?
Was it Pellegrini or was it Mancini? I can't remember. One of them. But I think under Pep though, most players. So I can see him improving. I think he's versatile. He said that he can play in a few different positions. I think he'll play in the middle with De Bruyne, and I think the likes of Foden will go out on the wing when he's fit. We are starting the season without De Bruyne and without Foden, so it is vital that we get someone in, and I think that's why Grealish might have been done so quickly, because they're realising there is no De Bruyne for a bit and there is no Phil Foden. So I think that's why Grealish has probably been done before Kane. That's what's going to happen. I do think Foden, people asking about Foden's development, I do think Foden will play in a different position to Grealish, so I don't think it will really affect Foden too much. It's going to be more like your Raheem Sterling, whether he goes with Sterling or Foden. So one of them two will probably miss out. I think on the right, it has to be Mahrez. Mahrez has started the season on fire, but we play 60 games a season, and Mahrez can't play 60 games, 50 on a bad season. So, I think they're going to all get their opportunities to play. It was interesting, actually, because somebody compared the amount of minutes that Foden played and the amount of minutes that Grealish played. And even though Grealish was out of an injury, they said that if Grealish had been fit for every single Villa game, he still would have played less minutes than Foden based on how many games we played across all competitions. So, yeah, I think Grealish, even if he doesn't start every game, he's still going to be playing more than sort of 20, 22, 23 games a season that he was getting at Villa. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens, but I'm sure Foden will be fine. He's a great player. I think he'll play on the wing. So, yeah.
Bob.
It'll be people like Gabby that won't get included. He will be the one that kind of wants to move because there's 2 to 3 players that want to move. I feel like Gabriel
I thought it was 7.
One that wants, yeah. Because I don't think he's going to, unless we don't sign Harry Kane, and then he's obviously our number 9, even though he's not a striker, but he is our number 9 essentially.
But he's not good enough to take you to a Champions League win.
Jesus
isn't of the standard.
He's not. He's horrible.
He's not a striker. If you get in the box and your first thought is to pass, you're not a striker to me. So,
100%.
That's Arsenal now the last 10 years, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Trying to pass it out the box. And the thing is, it's different if you play as a front 2 and you're looking for the other person. That makes sense. But he's trying to pass to a winger when he's in the box, when he's supposed to be the striker. To me, he's not a striker. I like him out on the left, but we just don't need him there. I think, I do like him, but I think he should probably move on.
I think his time's passed.
Play every week.
So just before we close, guys, Bob, your thoughts on Grealish to City? Is that something we should all be worried about?
100%. We saw what he'd done for Aston Villa under Dean Smith and John Terry. Now he's literally going to go to the guy that, what was the doctor's name that created Frankenstein? He's gone to the doctor. We saw what he'd done with Sterling. We saw how he changes individuals' games. We saw how he's changed the whole way people watch football, listen to football. He's going to turn Jack into an absolute monster of a man. I can see it's insane. He's the best creative English player. And I know you're going to hit me with Harry Kane's assist stats, but Jack Grealish is the best creative English player, and he's going to a guy that basically turned Sterling into a 25-goal season. The guy that made monsters out of Xavi, Iniesta, Messi. This is insane. Listen, we fought Man United. We bought Sancho, Varane, thinking, this basically blows everything out of the water. I think they've retained their Premiership League title with this signing. I'm going to go as far as saying that. Jan was mentioning Mahrez and Sterling, De Bruyne, Foden. Guys, that's an embarrassment of riches. They're going to play. They can't play 60+ games, but we've seen the way they do substitutes and stuff. But yeah, for me, best signing of the season or the summer so far. What an investment! He's going to turn him into and imagine if KDB gets injured. It's all right. Jack can play. Do you know what I'm trying? Do you know how powerful that is? So yeah, and I think he was one of England's best players. Not the best player, but one of England's best players. But yeah, City will win the league again for me, Steve.
You think so?
Yeah, to elaborate on that, sorry, just that very quickly. The reason I think they'll retain it with that because Jack can score goals as well, but he's just another dimension to them, just another dimension. But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Before I come to you, Owen, just to have your piece, just going to respond to this question. I don't think Foden's development is hindered by the signing of Grealish. If anything, it will galvanise it because it's another young English star that comes into the team and basically have got a bit of a journey together. And they're not really in direct competition for places. Foden can play right across the line, he can play right, left or central. So imagine, like Bob says before, De Bruyne picks up a knock and can't play. And you play Mahrez right, Sterling left, and you play Grealish and Foden in front of a Rodri or a Gundogan or whoever or a Fernandinho. I'll make sure I get him in because that's Jan's favourite. You play him in front of those guys. That's terrifying. The options there are absolutely ridiculous. So, the answer to that one, this does not hinder Foden at all, because as good as Jack Grealish is, Foden is Pep's golden boy. Pep wouldn't come out and say he's never seen a player with the ability at the age that Foden is and was, and then cast him aside because they made £100 million signing. This is in addition to rather than instead of. I genuinely don't see that being an issue. So, Owen, from a Spurs point of view, obviously, no disrespect, we don't envisage Spurs challenging for the title this summer. But what do you think Grealish brings to Manchester City's campaign next season?
I would echo bits and bobs opinions that he does bring that extra dimension and that extra depth in quality when it comes to creativity in attacking midfield. Especially with Jan saying that, you've got Foden and De Bruyne, especially missing the first part of the season. I don't think he will necessarily hit the ground running, though. There tends to be a kind of bedding in period for new players who play in kind of Pep's teams, just to understand the flow and the movement of the team. It's very positional, which isn't something Jack Grealish is used to at all. And those lights shine a bit brighter at Man City, or a club like Man City as well. Like, this is the first time he's going to be playing at a team at this stature. So we'll see how he does under those bright lights, because, there was... I don't agree with the De Bruyne being overrated either, but the lights hit different. I think he'll eventually settle in and be a key part of City's team, because probably going into 2022 and forwards. But I think he's going to need that bedding in period first.
I totally agree, and I'll just close with a little summary of what I think. I think Manchester City are the yardstick. I think anybody that finishes above Manchester City this season will be champions. They've just got options. They've just got numbers. They've just got 2 or 3 players that could play. Look at that. The front 4 or 5 that City have got, ridiculous the numbers. And if they get Kane, it only makes that even greater, doesn't it? So, thanks to my guests.
It doesn't sound like you've put your team in the mixer there. Sorry, I know you're about to close, but you don't sound too confident this year.
No, listen, the fact with Liverpool is I'm quite happy to be under the radar. I'm quite happy for people to be saying someone put there, so Liverpool will be back to 7th place, blah, 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 and all that nonsense, right? You can't bring the likes of Van Dijk and those players back into your club and not benefit and grow in confidence from that. Ours is the most rigid system and one of the most fragile systems, but also one of the most effective systems that football's seen, certainly English football. When it's back and running, we will be there and thereabouts. But what City have done with signing Grealish, and if they sign Kane, just thrown a marker down to everybody else and said, we've upped the ante. Can you catch us? Can you match us? Can you meet us at the top of the table? And I'd have to say at the moment, it's looking pretty good for them. What I will say is, spending £250 million is no guarantee for success. We know Kane's injury prone. You could sign him 6 games into the season, he goes missing for 3 months because he's done his ankle. That's a reality of football, unfortunately. Who knows what happens next season? But I tell you this, Manchester City have done themselves no harm at all with their signings. And if anyone finishes above them, they will be league champions. That's my opinion. And I think Liverpool will be in the mix.
Fair enough.
Cool. Before we go, guys, tell us where we can find you and what you're up to. So I'll start with you, Owen. So where we can find you, mate, and what you're up to in the next couple of days.
Yeah, so you can find us on the Touchline Hotspur podcast. So obviously, we got the app there, Spurs Touchline, under the Touchline Fracker banner. We tend to do live streams every Thursday evening, with the podcast itself being released on Saturday mornings. So we'll have a reaction to, obviously, Romero signing, potential signing of the summer, no big deal. And obviously the whole Kane drama. He's like, who? Serie A MVP defender. You'll hear our reactions on him. And catch us there. We got a lot of tears flowing from our faces at the moment too. So if you want to hear our pain as much as we want to brag about our new centre back, then feel free to check us out.
Right, I'm going to pinch a little line from Bob. House rules. These guys have got channels. Go and follow them, please. If you're in the channel or you're on the show, go and follow all of these guys. I like that one, Bob. I was always going to steal that, mate. Quick one from you, Bobs. Where can we find you, mate? What are you up to?
Literally bits and bobs underscore on Twitter. Literally bits and bobs on YouTube channel. Season starts next season, so there will be watch-alongs. I will be giving out some reactions as well, and we will be doing bits and bobs meets where we talk and interview people about everything and about getting to know that person. So yeah, very fortunate. I've had Steve on it, I've had Jan on it, and you never know when I might get you on it as well. But yeah, I'd also make sure you subscribe to my peers here as well. Thanks, Steve. Enjoyed it tonight, Steve, and I loved how you shut down that Liverpool thing as well.
Well, you know, I'm getting good at that now, anyway. So, yeah, the guy who owns this channel gives me so much abuse, mate. You know what I mean? The irony of this whole conversation is unreal, mate. So, Usman, if you're out there and watching, I'm coming for you. Jan, where can we find you and what you're up to? You're on mute, I think, as well. Go on.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @ItchYanCity or on YouTube, YanCity ENT, but you'll mainly find me on Sarcasm City TV, so subscribe to them. On the road to 3.5K, 4K. So yeah, get subscribing to them and then you'll see me.
And if you haven't liked and subscribed to this channel, please do. There's lots of other content coming. This is fundamentally a Manchester United channel that's now branching out and going in slightly different directions, and it's really good to see. And there's a request for people to join the channel as a host for different clubs. So have a look at that. Like and subscribe. Hit the like button, guys. It's been a pleasure having these three on with me this evening. I've really enjoyed it. Peace, take it easy. And next week we do predictions because we're starting the season. So we'll get people's thoughts on their own on the fixtures. And that Man City Tottenham one could be an interesting analogy. So again, thanks for joining us, everyone. Take care.
Thank you
now.
for having us.
See you guys. Thank you.